Good day, learners. This is Rosalia Bisilla, your grade 9 English teacher. Do you love reading? What kind of materials do you read? Is it a book, Wattpad, or readings from your phone? Are there times that when you read stories, you get to remember an experience that is similar to the story or to another story? Yes, those things that you are experiencing now are called making connections. Making connections is a critical reading comprehension strategy that helps you make meaning of what you are reading. It helps you to make sense of what you read, retain the information better, and engage more with the text itself. There are three types of making connections. 1. Text-to-self connections. These are connections where you connect what you are reading to personal experiences or knowledge. This is when you realize something you read in a story has happened to you in your own life. Usually, this kind of connection comes with the emotion you felt at that time. It may make you feel happy, afraid, or sad. Example: this story reminds me of such a Christmas vacation that I traveled to Hong Kong with my family, just like the main character. 2. Text-to-text connections. These connections are made when you can connect what you are reading to other books that you have listened to before. They may make connections that show how the books share the same author, have similar characters, events, or settings, are the same genre, more are on the same topic. Example: I read another book about spiders that explained that spiders have venom. And in this book, I am learning about the top 10 dangerous spiders of the world. 3. Text-to-text or text-to-world connections. These are connections where you connect what you are reading to real events, past to present, social issues, other people and happenings going on in the world. You learn about the world from what you hear on TV, movies, magazines, and newspapers. It reminds you of something you have seen happen to someone you know and have seen in the news. Example: I saw in the news about how water pollution was affecting marine animals. And in this book, I am learning about why pollution can make a marine animal sick. There are some examples of questions that you can be used to facilitate connections. For text to self, what does this remind me of in my life? What is this similar to in my life? How is this different from my life? Has something like this ever happened to me? How does this relate to my life? What were my feelings when I read this? For text to text, what does this remind me of in another book I've read? How is this text similar to other things I've read? How is this different from other books I've read? Have I read about something like this before? For text to world, what does this remind me of in the real world? How is this text similar to things that happen in the real world? How is this different from things that happen in the real world? How did that part relate to the world around me? And so, I prepared activities for you. For activity 1, we call it Read and Connect. Directions: to further enhance your craft in making connections, you are tasked to read an excerpt of the story entitled The Bully by Anne Scruff. Record in your paper the connection you made while reading. Be sure to include the paragraph number and type of connections. You can see this on pages 4 to 7. For Activity 2, Share and Connections. You are going to share your thoughts and reactions about the story which you have read in this double entry journal. In the first column, write a quote or situation from the text that you can react to. Then, in the second column, record your reactions which should make a connection between the text and yourself, another text, or the world. For Activity 3, assess your connections. You are going to evaluate your ability in making connections using the rubric below. For text to self, 4 points if, while reading, I can make several detailed and deep connections to my own personal experiences or knowledge without help. 3 points if, while reading, I can make some meaningful and appropriate connections to my own personal experiences or knowledge with little help. 2 points if, while reading, I can make a few general connections to my personal experiences and knowledge with some help. And 1 point if, while reading, I can make vague and surface level connections to my own personal experiences or knowledge with a lot of help, or I struggle to make connections to personal experiences. For text to text, 4 points if, while reading, I can make several detailed and deep connections to other texts without help. 3 points if, while reading, I can make some meaningful and appropriate connections to other texts with little help. 2 points if, while reading, I can make general connections to another text with some help. And 1 point if, while reading, I can make vague and surface level connections to another text with a lot of help, or I struggle to make connections to another text. For text to world, 4 points if, while reading, I can make several detailed and deep connections to events, past and present, issues or other happenings going on in the world without help. 4 points if, while reading, I can make some meaningful connections to events, past and present, issues or other happenings going on in the world with little help. 2 points if, while reading, I can make general connections to events, past and present, issues or other happenings going on in the world with some help. And 1 point if, while reading, I can make vague and surface level connections to events, past and present, issues or other happenings going on in the world with a lot of help, or I struggle to make connections to events, past and present, issues or other happenings going on in the world. Got it, class? So now, I will give you 15 minutes to do that. Are you done, class? Okay, you are going to do this reflection. For deep understanding the lesson, you may summarize the main point of the lesson in one sentence. And you may also answer the questions: which type of connections was the easiest to make? Which type was the most challenging? And how do you think making connections will help you in the future? And so, I will give you 10 minutes for that. Okay, I think you're done. Very good. Now, let's see if you really understood our lesson for today. Now, you bring out one sheet of paper and answer the following questions correctly. Write whether the connections given is a text to self, text to text, or text to world. For number 1, I read a story about a boy who loved to eat cheese for breakfast. It reminded me of the time we ran out of cereal and my mom made me a cheese sandwich for breakfast. Number 2. I read an article about how bananas are grown in the tropics. It reminded me of how oranges are usually grown in Los Angeles. Number 3. I read a review of my favorite book. It reminded me that not everyone has the same taste in books. Number 4. I read a nutrition label on the back of my frozen pizza. It reminded me of an article I read about how to make healthy food choices. Number 5. I read about an article about how to catch a football. It reminded me of the time I caught the football during the championship football game and captured the victory for my team. Number 6. I read a story about a boy who visited a magical land with witches and wizards. It reminded me of the book of Harry Potter. Number 7. I read a book about the best sports for kids. It reminded me that I had a baseball practice this morning. Number 8. I read a magazine about the new airport which the city plans to build. It reminded me of how small many local airports are. Number 9. I read a book about what life was like before electricity. It reminded me of the time I went camping in a cabin that had no electricity. And number 10, I read a nonfiction book about how to get better at tennis. It reminded me of last summer when I attended a tennis camp to improve my skills. Okay, are you done, class? Excellent. Now, for your assignment, you are going to create a possible dialogue between the following. For letter A, student to parent. Letter B, student to friend. And letter C, student to teacher. And the situation is, Shirley received an academic recognition from her school. How do you think a supportive parent would speak to the child? Would others such as a friend or teachers speak to the child in the same manner? For your reference, you open your books, Kin et and Zimmerman S. in 1997, Mosaic of Thought, Teaching Comprehension in a Reader's Workshop, Portsmouth, N.H. Heinerman. Got it, class? Okay? Remember, despite the challenges the world is facing nowadays, you have to study well and be the future hope of the land. Okay? That's all for today. Thank you for listening. God bless everyone.